welcome, good morning, to my presentation. It's called Drupal 8 Core Deeper Dive, or also I just want to show you what we've done already with Drupal 8, how it was, and why you should walk out here today and all start your first Drupal 8 project. Who am I? I'm Michael, or people call me Schnitzel. I work at Amazing Labs. We have companies in Austin, Switzerland, and Cape Town. And yeah, we've done quite a lot of Drupal stuff already. So some people call us crazy. We built our own website actually in beginning of 2014, still with Drupal 8 Alpha, because we said, okay, we want to try it. When the Alpha came out, we were anyway planning of rebuilding our website. So we said, let's try that. So in April, it was not the 1st of April Fool, we launched our website in Drupal 8 Alpha in 2 languages already, English and German, and it was quite interesting, but it worked. We figured it out. We had a lot of hurdles. We had a lot of issues, but it worked. So we continued, and we actually got asked by Dries, which runs Drupal.com, which is more the business focus. So you find a lot of really great case studies of who uses Drupal, why they use Drupal and stuff. So if you ever need some material to convince your clients why should you use Drupal, go to Drupal.com and you'll find it there. And it's since September 2014, we launched it on Drupal 8 as well. And there we already were at beta, but the really early one, so it was hard already. It's only in 1 language, but we are planning in upgrading it to a lot of different languages because Drupal is not only in English. We have Drupal all over the world. Then we went ahead and we said, okay, we did our own Amazing Labs. That was our own site. We made one for Drupal.com. Can we do one for a client that doesn't even know that it is Drupal 8? And we did. So that's the website of the Schweizerische Gemeinnützige Gesellschaft. It's a non-profit organization in Switzerland. And they had a 4-language website. And they said, hey, we want to do it new. And we looked at it and we said, hey, it's really similar to our own website. We can do that. So we launched it in January 2015. Still in beta with 4 languages. And we learned a lot, especially in how to communicate to the clients, and you will hear more about that later. Then we did a small single site, amazing.com, which is basically a 1-pager. I didn't even tell the people which Drupal version to use. They just used Drupal 8 anyway because they just really liked it. So that was May 2015. Then we got asked by another one. Switzerland has a lot of mountains, so we built tunnels through the mountains to get faster through it. And we just finished building the longest tunnel in the world. So they needed a marketing page to announce that. And again, it was a rather easy site. So we said, let's do it in Drupal 8 as well. And we did. This was June. There we had actually 5 languages, so we stepped a bit ahead and added more. Then we had a Drupal camp in Cape Town that we organized, again Drupal 8. We just launched a website for one of the bigger universities in Switzerland, also Drupal 8, and now we started using RC1s. So every time we start a new website, we use the newest Drupal version. And yes, recently the last one we launched it like a couple of weeks ago was also RC1. And of course, we're doing more. So we don't stop. And interestingly, the question is not now in our company, it's not can we do it in Drupal 8? The question is, why do we do that in Drupal 7? So really, every client that comes in, every client that asks us, can we do a site? We first think we do it in Drupal 8. And then we start to search, is there anything that prevents us from doing it in Drupal 7? And that's quite a shift. Clients are a bit overwhelmed with that. Some of our devs as well, but it's really, if you go and take that approach, sometimes you think like that's not possible, but then you find ways. And let me show you some of the ways. But first, too long didn't read. It really, really works. We've done now 6, 7 sites, and they all work, and it's so great. It's really cool to work. You see there's a lot of time invested by the community that the whole community spent in making it a better product. Sometimes though, you have to be a bit creative because there are things different, there are things missing. But interestingly, nobody wants to go back to Drupal 7. Neither our editors, neither the salespeople, neither the dev programmers, neither the server guys. They all really like it because it feels so cool. So let's go through some experiences that we had, that our clients had, that we had, of what has changed and what is much better. First of all, editors. We didn't tell them. The first site they had 4 other Drupal 7 sites, and we just built them in 8 version. And they looked at it and said, like, okay, that's really similar. And then we told them, yeah, by the way, it's the newest version. And then they realized a lot of different changes. But first, using it, there wasn't a big change. Like the way how you create content, how you edit content, it's still called nodes. There's still an edit button everywhere. Maybe it's not a gear anymore. Now it's a pen to edit things. But it's really similar. And that's what the editors really liked. And especially the new things that we added of better usability made them much easier, made it much easier for them to edit their site to make it better. They really like the new layout, so the editing layout is revamped. The stuff that is usually at the bottom where you can set like when is it published and the authoring is now on the right side. That's just much better, and that's things that got better with usability tests by the community. And one really big one, we have real previews now. So a preview is not like something that looks like it and is not. If you click the preview button, it will actually load you the front end and you will see the real preview of a site. And that is one big change that a lot of our editors like, because now they can really change something, preview it, and they can distinguish, okay, yes, is that what I want or is that not what I want? Then can I edit it again? So that's one of the big ones. And overall for the editors, it was like no big change at all. They like the new things, but if they are familiar with Drupal anyway, they will feel at home again. Multilingual. A big topic for us because Switzerland has 4 official languages. South Africa has 14. And especially in Europe, we all know multiple languages. Total normal for us. If you talk to US people, unfortunately, that's not that big. But in core right now, everything is translatable out of core. So in Drupal 7, you needed 29 modules, contrib modules, to make your site completely translatable. And that means every single little piece that you want. In Drupal 8, we have 4 core modules, and they replace all of the 29 contrib modules. So the multilingual team made a huge effort in figuring out what do we really want, what is necessary, what do we throw away, or what do we put all in core. And now, if you take a Drupal 8 core, you can install it. You don't even have to use English anymore. You can disable the English language. You can add more, and everywhere you have now a translate tab. So whatever you want to translate, you can just translate. And that's really great, and that's one of the big things that was for us really important. For the people that know the difference between entity translation and content translation in 7, so we have 2 different ways of doing it. Drupal 8 supports and suggests to use entity translation because it's just more premature than content translation that had a lot of issues, especially if you work in a commerce environment and then suddenly you sell 2 different t-shirts because one of them is German and one is English, and you have to stock information is crazy and stuff. So with entity translation, it's just much better, and that's what is automatically there by Drupal 8 core. So we moved the entity translation module from contrib into core as well. Site building. The thing that Drupal makes really special, or compared to other CMSs or frameworks, that we can configure our site via the UI. So somebody doesn't need to write code to actually create the website. So it's a really big part, and it was also a really big focus. Overall, compared the jump from Drupal 6 to Drupal 7, where we had fields, and that was really cool, but you couldn't really field like a menu item, or you couldn't field like other things. So it was really great, but it was not complete. Now with Drupal 8, that's all done. So everything is fieldable. Everything is an entity. If you know, you can create a view of almost everything within Drupal. So because all the modules in the different systems, they work now together, it's just so much better of how to use it. And when I talk to the site builders from my team, they really say, like, if I learn it once, how it works, I can use it everywhere within my system. There's one problem though, and if you ever used Drupal 8 before, there is now, we have block instances and custom block libraries. So you can create your own blocks, you can field them, and then you can place them multiple times in regions and stuff, which is all really cool. It's also a bit quite confusing, because you have not only a block, because also you have a block instance, then you can edit only the instance, or you can edit the block. So if you're going to jump into there, take some time, read about it, figure out how it works. If you understood how it works, it's really, really cool. But the first step, it's a bit a change from 7 that we know. And of course, a lot of the contrib is still missing, or is just in development right now. But that forced us, especially at the really, really early beginning, to use some things. So you have to be creative. And we had the problem that on one of our sites, the client wanted to have on the front page, he wanted to define which 3 news items should be shown on the front page. I told him, just show the newest ones in order of creation date. And he said, no, that's not how it works. We have to define, that's the first one, that's the second one, the third one. My Drupal 7 head automatically tells me node queue. That's what you use. You go to node queue and you see there's no Drupal 8 site version. There's like talk to my backend developers. What will it be to update it and stuff? And he said, well, it's really a lot of things, so we have to think about that and that. So we went back to the drawing board and were thinking, and we realized, wait, we have entity reference in Drupal 8 core. We have blocks that you can fieldable. What is a node queue? It's just a reference to other nodes. So we created our own block, removed all the fields that are per default in there, only added one entity reference, and now you can reference the blocks and you display that block on the homepage. And there you are, you have your node queue. Without even installing a contrib module, with just using the normal thing. So with a custom block and entity references, we can build a whole module that was a contrib module in 7. Now you can build it out of core with just configuring your things. And that's only one example. We see that every day so many times that we realize things that we installed contrib in 7, we can just build with 8 out of the box. So, and especially now, if you jump in, don't be afraid of trying out new things. A lot of the time you can do it without installing any modules. And we did a test. We gave some Drupal 7 site builders. We just let to do on a Drupal 8, and after like 2 hours of clicking around and figuring out how it works, they picked it up. And they were building the first Drupal 8 site from scratch. So from a site building point of view, it's a lot of great tools that makes it much easier for them to start their site and figure out how it works, and it only takes a couple of hours, and then they're running it, because it's still the same. We still have content types, we have taxonomy terms, and all the things are still the same. Configuration management. To be completely honest, the thing that I've waiting for since a long time. I mean, Drupal 7 features, it's great, but I guess everybody that ever used features in 7 installed the feature and your whole site is broken, and then, yeah, you start to use backups more and more and stuff. And configuration management is a huge thing, and especially if we compare it to non-proprietary CMSs, because that's one thing they all have. Like if you look at other site cores or Adobe Experience Manager, they all have that since multiple years. And we were struggling a long time to do that, but now it's here. The problem is Drupal 8 is a bit bad in helping you how to use it exactly. We've built a really cool system, but how to use it specifically, it's not really clear. So there is no real workflow to come from dev staging to prod. I mean, technically it's possible, but Drupal itself, you have to figure out a lot of things. Then there was a really interesting thing. There was a staging folder, which was not the configuration of your staging site. And I said, okay, that's not possible, so we renamed it to sync folder. So there is a folder in your configuration that is called sync, and you can put your configuration in there, and then you can synchronize it. There was also an active folder, which was empty all the time, because we first thought at the beginning, CMI, everything will be in the active folder, and so that's all really great. But then we moved the configuration into the database, and then there was an empty active folder. And I have so many people coming to me and say, like, my Drupal site is broken. The active configuration folder is empty. That cannot be true. And I said, no, it's all good, because it will never be filled. So like, okay. So we removed that as well. And sorry for everybody that that had a Drupal 8 site and broke shortly. And like, if you now run Drush, you have to update Drush. It was me, because we renamed the folders. But I think with that, it makes it much easier. And there are a lot of great tools out there that help. So like, if you have CMI changes of different environments, you need to do them in Git. So now is really the time to put the configuration into the Git, and then you can merge them and you can help them. The problem is, by default, the configuration is not in Git. It's inside default files, so the folder that you usually exclude. But you can move the folder, and that's one of the first things we do all the time. You want to have your configuration in Git, because then you can merge it and stuff. And also, what we had a lot of time is that you have to export your configuration before you pull it down from somebody else, because it's really, it will be the configuration will, whatever you import, that's what will be imported. So let's say you created a view and you forgot to export it, and you pull the configuration and you import the configuration that does not contain the view, it will throw away the view from your site, because just whatever that is imported is for Drupal, it will do whatever changes there are. So there is a bit confusion in there, and it's also sometimes really frustrating. Like, we had people that losing configuration, whatever, but we wouldn't be the Drupal community to say, let's tackle that. We have an awesome tool. We just have to teach each other how it works. So what we do, we use it a lot, we try it out, we think about a lot of different ways, what could happen when, we learn about it and we write about it. So we are actively right now writing blog posts on how we use configuration management. And if you play also around with it and you learn new things, please, I encourage you to also write about it, give presentations or whatever, just distribute the knowledge, because the CMI is so great, but we're lacking a bit of explaining each other how it works. Let's talk about backend. Probably the biggest change in Drupal ever and right now. So everything is object-oriented. And especially for programmers that come from the outside world that have not done a lot of Drupal, suddenly everything makes sense. So we have an entity API that works, it's in core, and second, it works with everything. So the same way you load a node is the same way you load a menu item. It's also the same way you load an taxonomy term. It's all the same things. If you once understood how to communicate with the entity API, you can do everything within Drupal. Then we have plugins, which makes it much easier to have modules that provide plugins so that you can use in different ways. You have services, so you can hack core without hacking core. If you don't like, I don't know, the HTTP client within Drupal, you can just replace it without changing one single line of code within the core folder. And that is really cool. And I think that will make it a much easier for us to use Drupal, not only for CMSs, but also as a framework, because you can remove stuff without actually removing them. One thing that we learned, especially with Drupal 8, already with Drupal 7 a bit, but with Drupal 8, if you don't have an IDE like PHP Storm or Send Studio or whatever that helps you understanding all your classes and all the attributes and the inheritances and the interfaces that just come from object-oriented, you will have a really, really hard time. Because you will be more searching. But if you have an IDE that understands PHP and you can just write your class names and they will autocomplete and it will tell you what is possible and what not, what is protected, what is private, what is public, all these things, it makes it much easier. And the same actually for debugging. In 7, it was quite easy to like, okay, I think it should happen here. So I put a DPM in there and I go back to my site, I have refresh. No, it's not. Okay, maybe let's do it that way. In Drupal 8, it can happen in 50 different times because it's all classes and all inherited in each other. So it makes it quite hard. So you have to really use a step debugger. So what we did, we explained everybody within the company how to use a step debugger. And with everybody, I also mean the people that test and also the people that do front-end work and stuff. Because it's really important to be able to look into the PHP code and understand where is that variable, what is it doing, why is it that, where it's coming from. And of course, step debugging is connected to the IDE itself, because step debugging just in a regular text editor is not possible. Then another problem is that a lot of the examples you find online are unfortunately obsolete. Drupal 8, the release cycle is so long that people that tried out things 2 years ago and wrote blog posts about it, that code will not work anymore because it went over so many different changes. So that is a bit frustrating, but there is the example project on Drupal.org where a team is behind and really try to keep up to date and show you how do I create my own module, how do I create my own plugin, how do I create my own service or whatever. So at the beginning, I really suggest go there, go to the example project and try to learn how to do things. There are also a lot of other different things. There is Drush, which helps you. There is now the Drupal console, which helps you to creating your own modules. So there's a lot of frameworks around that help to support you stuff. And another really interesting thing, we had people that never used Drupal before. They completely started from scratch from 8, and within a day, they've built their own entity type and started to have UIs for them and stuff. Like something I could not imagine happening in 7. Because after 2-3 hours, the people you first had to like get the people back to their desk and say like, no, it will be good, because they hated what they see right now. But now with 8, it's built in a way, and especially if these people come from a PHP environment, it just feels similar to them. They can understand it, they know how it works, they can read the API documentations, and with that, they can use it from the beginning. And yes, it sounds maybe a bit scary, because suddenly Drupal is not only Drupal anymore, but it's like the whole PHP community, because everybody that can do PHP can now also do Drupal. But I think that's really crucial for Drupal as a general thing, because we need more developers. I know everybody that I've talked to at companies, they're searching for really great people. Until now, we had to find people that already did Drupal, I don't know, 2-3 years long, and now we can just find people that know PHP or know object-oriented programming, and they can start with Drupal, and that's really cool. Front end, there is actually a whole presentation today about it, so I don't want to give too many things away, but what I can tell is that the people that work with Drupal 8 right now, they completely love Twig. So it's so much greater to work to have full control over the front end. And interesting is as well, we never used a country-based theme till now of all the sites that we did, because we used base themes to like having a reset, to like reset all the things, make it more HTML5 aware and all these things. But now with 8, that's all in there. So you don't need a country-based theme anymore to put your work on top, because core is your country-based theme. There's one interesting thing though, now you can actually choose between 3 different ways of how to start your own theme. So there is classy in core, there's stable in core, or you can just use no base theme in core. So if you start your own base theme, read about that. It makes a lot of sense. So you can choose if you want to have classes in there or not. Read about it, and if you know, start your own base theme. Just don't start your own theme. Just start your own theme, because maybe on the way you realize that you should have done it different, and then it's a bit hard, but it's really cool. Yes. And one of the really cool hidden superpowers that we thought is Twig has a new system that is called extends and blocks. So you can extend your template files now, which is really cool. And I have an example here. So let's say you want to remove the H1 on the front page. So you have a page template, and that has the H1 in there. And now you want to remove it. What do you do in 7? You just copy it, and you remove it. But then like the footer is still there, and then something changes on the main template, and then you have to think about, okay, I now also have to change it on the other templates, and stuff like that. In Drupal 8, you can do it that way. So we have the page HTML Twig file, and you see all the Twig curly brackets, and we have one thing in there. So we declare a block. We declare the block page title, and we wrap our title in there. And that's the first thing. That's the main page template. Nothing will happen yet, but you just declare that part as a block in a Twig file. And you see that is called page.html.twig. Now we create our page --front, which is the front page template for HTML.twig. And you say this file extends the other one from before, the page html.twig. And now, because you're in extending mode, you can change the blocks. And we just declare an empty block. So we say that block is changed from before, and you remove a part of another template without actually changing it. You just remove that little part that we declared before. So let's say if you go back and you define, okay, now the tabs are, from any reason, are below the content now. This will also be the case on the front page, something that was not possible with 7 before. You can go a bit crazy with that, and you can create like inheritances that you even need, like, I don't know, a system, a documentation on how your things work. But so don't go too crazy with it, because it will be one point it will be really hard. But it's a system that did not exist before, and we, like in our third side, realized what we could have done. So we went back and made it in the other sides. Upgrading. If you ever had a site before beta 9, it was really hard. We rebuilt amazylabs.com 4 times because there was no other way for upgrading. We tried it once in actually writing a script. So we wrote the script for Drupal.com, and it took 60 hours in writing an update script. And they're actually, if you want to see them, we publish them. So if you need to upgrade from beta 3 to beta 9, we have a script that does that for you. I'm not saying it works, but it was. But we realized at the end it's just easier to rebuild the site. After beta 9, we had a really cool module that was called Head to Head. So it's a community contributing code to upgrade different versions. So they have patches for each head. Every time a new head came out that needed some kind of change in configuration or whatever. People wrote their scripts because a lot of more people like us started to do Drupal sites. And then, of course, beta was also there. Then after beta 15, we have now update PHP in core. So after beta 15, it was required that every change also has an update hook in core, which made it much easier. And now, right now, we are in RC phase for another couple of days. But if you have RC sites and the updating, you basically just take the new Drupal site and you replace the core folder, and it's all done. Like, and there's no change. There's now one tidy one that you maybe have to change your templates because some things have changed, or your code. But it's like with before beta 9, you basically installed your site and you had a white screen of dev for like the next 5 hours because you like tried to step debug how it works. So all of that is completely gone, and it's really nice. And like before we go live, hey, there's a new RC. Okay, let's take it down, and it works. Contrib modules, another really big part of Drupal, and of course, we cannot expect that every contrib module that there is out there is also ready when Drupal 8 comes out this Thursday. So the contrib modules right now, you see a huge spike in people working on it because now we are finally having frozen APIs that you can say, okay, if I implement now something, I hope it doesn't break. There is one really cool thing. It's called the Drupal 8 contrib tracker. And it's a website like that. And basically the idea is that every contrib module can tell its status. So there are different columns, and you can say like, okay, like work has started, or we have a beta, or we have a stable version. So if you're in evaluating, should I do a website in 8, go there, search for Drupal 8 contrib tracker, and you will see the different statuses, and you can also like click into the modules and you see the people discussing what is the status. You can find a lot of contrib modules right now are developed on GitHub, just because our Git workflows on Drupal.org are unfortunately not that great. So people say, okay, till we have the first beta version, we implement on GitHub and then we move back. So we take quite some modules from GitHub, but at the end it doesn't matter. They are out there and they will find them by that website. And also really important, if you fix a module, and our experience showed that a lot of times the module is maybe, let's say, 3 months old. And you install it and it just throws you a fatal error or whatever because one route doesn't work anymore, whatever. And you change it, it's maybe one line of code. But it's really, really important that you contribute that back. Like, go take the 5-10 minutes it takes, go to Drupal.org, create a short patch and write it there at least. Because it's really important that we all help each other in making it. And for the maintainers, it's also much easier because keeping up to date with Drupal 8 while it was developing was really hard. Now it's easier. But there's still a lot of modules that have not been touched in the last 2-3 months. And we can all help them. Migration. It's not done yet. So you can right now, so first of all, we don't have an upgrade anymore from 7 to 8. We have a migration. So the idea is you start your new Drupal 8 site, and you point it to the old Drupal 7 site or Drupal 6. And then the migrate module from 8 will connect to the database and take all the stuff out. And the idea is really that you not only can migrate content, you can also migrate configuration. So like views from 7, all your views are migrated into 8. And that is not only from views, just as an example, but the idea is that every contrib module, also in 8, can provide a migration path from 6 and from 7. And we are really, really far in 6, so we can migrate almost everything from a Drupal 6 site. From a Drupal 7 site, there's just way more stuff to migrate, and there's an issue that tells you exactly what you need. But a lot of times, and because Drupal 8 has such a great entity API, it's not that hard if you just need to migrate some content. Our own website, Amazing Labs, we have blog posts since the last 7 years. So we said, OK, we want to keep them. And actually migrating that was 200 lines of code. What we did, we installed services module on Drupal 7, exposed all our blog posts in JSON, connected, wrote a small module from Drupal 8 that connected to that JSON, and basically iterated through the JSON and just created nodes. And it was 200 lines of code. You'll find it on our GitHub. That's it. And it's so easy because Drupal 8, the entity API, it's so easy now to create content from code. So wherever you have that, you have the data from, you just have to fill your object, save them, and they are in the database and all done. So if you only need to do some little things, it's super easy to do that. Yes. So we think, or I think, you should all start using it. Except if it's a new site. If you want to upgrade an existing site, we're not there yet. We're getting there. So if you start a completely fresh new site, I think that's definitely the part you should consider Drupal 8. Or if you want to migrate one existing and you only need to migrate some of the content. And what we see with a lot of our clients, anyway, after 3 or 4 years, they say, yeah, let's rethink how our website is built anyway. So you cannot use all your content types because the client decides anyway to get rid of some, or you want to change the menu structure anyway and stuff. So if you only need to migrate some content, it's super easy with already migrating core or with any other system. And also if you don't need heavy contrib modules. So if you rely, like let's say you have a shop, and I think we will hear more about that from Bojan later, they're really getting there. But if you want to do it right now, it's just there are in states where it's not done yet. So we say if we have an easy website that does not have a lot of contrib modules, we can do that. We actually have a project right now where we want to launch, let's say, third quarter 2016, and we know we need a shop. And we started implementing right now. We just start implementing all the other things that are ready yet. And then, whenever there will be their first beta, we will going to start using that. So it doesn't mean you cannot start a project that needs commerce right now. You can just not do the commerce part yet. But that's perfectly fine, because if you've done it, all the part stuff before, they will most probably be ready anyway. And you have a completely fresh website in the newest technologies that will be able to run for way more years than any other Drupal 7 site. So let's say you want to know more. There is a group Drupal.org about Drupal 8 production sites. It's quite obsolete starting from Thursday, but there's still some people talking about how they fix things. All our migration scripts are on there. So if you're more interested, find it out there. And if you have specific questions, you can ask me now. I'm the whole day around here, or yeah, online or whatever. That's it. I hope you all gonna start now using Drupal 8.
Thank you very much.
So you have some questions specifically? Shoot them now. Or we're going to do a break. Yes?
What's your experience with performance Drupal 7 versus Drupal 8 so far?
Much better. The caching stuff got completely changed. So we have now render caching in core. Drupal understands what is actually in the content. So whenever, like you say, we have a cache tagging system, which basically means if Drupal renders the front page, it knows which node, which user, which taxonomy term, which view, whatever is on that page displayed. So let's say you go and you change a node. In Drupal 7, you had no clue where was this node displayed. So you could either not clear a cache or clear all caches. And that's what Drupal 7 did out of the box. So it just cleared all the page caches. Say like, I have no idea where that node is. Let's remove all of them. It's a lot of fun if you have like newspaper websites and somebody changes like a typo and your whole site is down because of that. Drupal 8 now understands where is that node you just changed, in which of the caches is that done. So it basically goes through all its caches and all its cache tags and looks, is that node in there? No? I leave that thing away. So basically, if you change a node, it will only clear the caches that are specifically for that node you just changed. And that also works for reverse proxy caches. So if you have varnish, they can also understand that. And they actually give their tags each other. So you have a much better caching system. And what recently happened is Drupal is now also able to render pages in so-called big pipe. So everybody that knows auth cache from Drupal 7, it's not exactly the same, but it's similar. So Drupal understands that different areas are either personalized to you as your name or not. So what will happen, let's say you are in a commerce environment and you visit the front page and you're logged in. The only thing that actually changes maybe is the header that tells you you have 3 items in your cart. And so what happens with Drupal is it will give you the whole site that is not personalized to you super, super fast. And it will load the part on top right that is personalized to you in a later stage. And that's called big pipe because you can load parts of the site after each other. So whenever something is rendered in 8, it's sent to you, you can use it already, and then later on the other parts are loaded. And that just makes a much better experience for your users. And that's something that works out of the box in core because we have all this cache tagging and we know what is personalized and stuff. So overall, using it, editing it, it's much better from a performance point of view. Yes, and also Drupal 8 just has, it's PHP 7 compatible completely. And PHP 7 is roughly 40 to 50% faster than any other PHP versions before. So if just like using something like that, your site is faster again. So I'm not worried about performance at all. OK, yes?
Have you been in a situation when you started a website in Drupal 8 and then you needed actually to revert to Drupal 7 because you couldn't achieve something like you wanted?
We were really close once. And it was about the shop. So the client came at one point and said, like, we need a shop. And it's sort of like, if you pay me a lot of money. Well, we actually ended up in using Shopify. So we didn't know about that requirement. And he came to us and said, like, what? I never told you. Do you need a shop? So yes, we need. And so like, OK, good. So we said, OK, we have to find another solution. And we found an easy way of including an external shop.
You could have been my co-maintainer.
I know. I could have. That's what I said. If you give me a lot of money, I could have like go to Commerce Guys and do it. And And that also happened with like newsletter systems. So the client really wanted to have like personalized emails, and that was not possible. So we used like MailChimp. So there is ways around, and sometimes they are a bit scary for the client because they are used to usually, yes, a shop, of course, no problem, we can do it. And I went to them and said, like, the decision we took 3 months ago, it's now that infects. But I think if you can communicate it correctly, we never had a problem in actually explaining them why that is. But we never actually reverted to Drupal 7 till now. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great stuff.